without the Dutch creating this whole system of coffee shops. But on the other hand, we would have not been existing now if you guys didn't do such a great job the last 10 years with all your dispensaries in America. So it gives you a feeling how strong this plant is. If we look at the process in America, where 2 states now voted for legal marijuana, 63 I think against 37%. There were more people voting on marijuana than or on Obama or on Romney. So this gives you an idea how powerful we can be if we unite more and more and be stronger. Because one day this battle will be over, but it's still a very long battle. Anyway, this man encouraged me to start growing marijuana, and when I started in the mid-80s growing marijuana, there were a few coffee shops in Amsterdam. And as I said before, 90% of the products they were selling was hashish, or Morocco or Nepal, and it was like maybe 10% marijuana. The marijuana was growing in mostly West Africa, poor quality, brick quality, a lot of seeds. And so I started growing indoor. And using some skunk seeds at that time from California. They were one of the first seeds that were around. And I started crossbreeding with my varieties. The first few years I sold it to a few of the famous coffee shops now, like the Bulldog, for example. And they went very well. I didn't have my own coffee shop. And then I started crossing, and I started making sativa hybrids and varieties. And I went back to those same coffee shops that I was working with for a few years as a grower like most of us. And they didn't want to have it. It smelled like cat piss, and it was too expensive, and they didn't like it. So in the end I gave it for free. I remember I picked out 3 coffee shops, I gave them all 3 kilos. And I said, please try, you know, but I underestimated the guy who was selling it because he was not very into it. And I came back like 1-2 months later and I got it all back. So that was a big disappointment because I really believed in my plants and I thought they were great, but apparently the Dutch consumer thought otherwise. At that time we made the decision to start, and maybe some of you remember, in '92 I opened my first greenhouse in the south of Amsterdam. Still until now it's probably the most famous one we have. Just 4 weeks ago, I don't know if you remember Rihanna being all over the press, completely stoned. 5 hours in a coffee shop. This was our coffee shop. And still we have nice people coming by, renting out the coffee shop and having a great time. This was '92, and we started this coffee shop with the idea to sell our varieties, but again the Dutch people didn't like them, and to create a whole new atmosphere of coffee shops. This was the first coffee shop that was completely open, so you could look inside. You didn't recognize it was a coffee shop from the outside, so your mother and my mother could walk in, get a cup of coffee and just smell it maybe, but that's all. Artistic, you know, so artistic people feel free to come there, anybody. We invited the mayor and the police, but of course they didn't show up. And later I became a spokesman for 12 years for the Cannabis Retailers Association. And the cops always remind me of that letter that I sent. It was the most strange letter they ever had. They were invited at an opening of a coffee shop. They were like mad at that time. Anyway, so the first year not much happened because the Dutch didn't like our product, until the people who own High Times passed by in a big car at one point in '92, and we had no clue who they were. We had no idea the magazine was existing. And they asked us to participate in a competition. We had not much to lose, so we said yes. And well, the rest for you guys is a little bit history. We won like all the prizes in the first year with our varieties. It was really special at that time, unique. We came with Master Push, we came with White Widow, with White Shark, all those varieties that were unfamiliar to you guys on the other side, so it was very, very nice. From there on, we started developing ourselves. We had the big problem in the early 90s that we had a new mayor that was totally against us. We had no choice then to start the Cannabis Retailers Association. I was the spokesman, and we were with 60 guys, and you can imagine 60 smokers in one room, what a mess it was. But we got it running, and we beat the mayor of Holland at that time. But at the same time we realized that we were in a very vulnerable situation. Only Holland had coffee shops at that time. It was not like it is now. You guys in the States were like all getting locked up. In some parts of Europe, if you were caught with one joint, you got 5 years prison. So it was a really bad situation. And we thought we had to do something about this. And as you all know, we are pretty creative in the greenhouse. We said, let's create something. And we came up with the idea, King of Cannabis. And many people were laughing at it at that time, but we thought, the title is available, let's take it and let's do something wise with it. The idea behind the King of Cannabis was that to create something here in Amsterdam, we created the Green Light District. So instead of the Red Light District, we had the Green Light District with a group of people. So the people could go around and then they end up at the King of Cannabis. And the idea behind the whole story was to attract famous people from the States, because we knew at that time already they were smokers, and let them spread out the message for us on public, because those people have the biggest reach to the media, much more than we as a coffee shop owner. And unfortunately it happened. I learned to become friends with Woody Harrison, with Bill Maher, with all those people, and they did a tremendous job for us. It was really, really great. It was a great move for us. And you know, we have now 150 A-list people coming by and spreading the word and going on television, from Snoop Dogg to Alicia Keys to the Rolling Stones. And this was a great, great asset for us, for our cannabis community. You see it even now, even in Dutch Parliament, when we were having such a big problems, there were people saying, hey, listen guys, all those big groups are coming to Holland, they start at concerts in Europe. We are all putting this in jeopardy if we start closing the coffee shop, besides the money that we're going to lose. So this was the history of the King of Cannabis, to try to make it more open and more accessible for people all over the world, and it helped a lot. Then we had a fairly few years of peacefulness until the new mayor came again and new governments, and let's say early mid-90s to late 90s, all you guys in America started opening dispensaries. Some famous friends of us from Harborside, Steve D'Angelo, who was a lot with us, the guys from BGP, Berkeley Patient Group, and slowly